Zach Scotto. He's the O-line coach at Laurier. Did I pronounce that wrong?
Yeah. You got Yonkers though, so that's okay.
I phonetically wrote out Yonkers.
Yeah.
my years out right.
It's all good, man. It's all good.
I'll get it. But yeah, so Zach will speak about zone scheme. And go ahead, Zach. You got it.
Sweet. I appreciate it. Okay, I'll start the screen share with. I want to talk inside zone, and I wanted to specifically talk about influencing the guy that we're not going to block. Most people have seen inside zone. Most people have run inside zone. So I wanted to try and talk about something specific that hopefully we can take something away. So this is me first. Feel free to contact me, however you want. Any questions, or you just want to talk ball at any point, feel free to reach out. I'd be more than happy to talk. This will be the last slide as well. So I'm not going to spend a ton of time there. This is what we're going to look at. So in the same way that Coach Yonkers talked about gap scheme conceptually, I want to talk about the concept of inside zone and how we run it. Most people are pretty similar in inside zone, but there are small differences, and I'll talk a little bit about how we look at it. Then I want to talk about the uncovered player specifically and how we can influence that uncovered player. Because anytime, we have 5 guys, they have 6 guys, right? There's going to be one guy left unblocked, and we want to do something meaningful with that guy. We don't want to just let him ruin it. So I'll talk about a couple different things. One, changing the look. So what they're seeing right in front of us, changing their responsibility, changing who the unblocked player actually is. So taking control over who we want to leave as the unblocked guy, and then changing the aiming point of the run. So similar in terms of changing the uncovered player's job and the look for the uncovered player, but changing where we're actually attacking with the ball within the same concept. So the base concept of inside zone, we're going to have 5 guys to block. We need to block the most inside 5 towards the play side. In this instance, in this front, we're going to be blocking the rush, the tackle, the nose, so the 3 play side D linemen, and then the Mac and the Will, right? We're assuming an even box in this scenario. They have 6 guys in the box. We only have 5 guys to block. We got to leave one guy. For me, I use the color coding with Jack's happy accident. Great minds think alike, I guess. But for us at Laurier, we like to hit inside zone really, really downhill. Fastest path to the end zone is a straight line. And that's how we look at it. So we're actually aiming the inside hip of the play side guard. I know some people teach their running back just to read the play side double. Some people say read the B gap. Some people say read the 3 tech. However we want to teach your running back to look at it, or however you want to aim it. That's entirely up to you. For us, we say inside hip of the play side guard because we really want to hit downhill fast. So in this case, that backside DN, the Q, is the guy we're leaving unblocked. For years and years and years, at this point, we're seeing the read option, right? That's pretty basic. It's a pretty early install for most teams as a way to deal with that. And because of that, defenses now, as one of their responses, one of the first things they put in is exchange, right? So, we gotta deal with exchange in a way that allows us to still be successful. But if we don't do it, what I see a lot of time, especially with young tackles, is when they get exchange, they end up turning around and chasing after that will into the backfield as the quarterback pulls it, and then the tackle ends up watching the quarterback get hit for a gain of 1, right? So unless you have a really hyper-athletic tackle or a guy that really, really gets it and is able to stick his foot in the ground and widen that Q out, right, and prevent him from chasing the tailback, it gets pretty hard, right? So, it takes a lot of preparation against exchange teams, and you're putting in a lot of reps in order to deal with the exchange. I'd rather just try to not have teams play exchange on us, right? Let's do something different. So the easy one to do, if you have the personnel, just bring another body in, right? Notice that nothing changes for the O-line. Similar to Coach Jackson talking about core concepts with gap schemes, we want to keep it simple and keep it chunked teaching for an O-line and keep things the same, right? Same as teaching as much as possible, whether that's same technique, same concept, right? So in this concept, our right tackle in this instance, the plate side tackle, we call it a showcase block, a one-on-one block, big on big, whatever you want to call it. We call it a showcase block. He's one-on-one. Then we got an inside zone double and an inside zone double. I don't teach it as a front side zone double or a backside zone double. I teach the footwork and the angles all throughout the line. All 5 guys all learn the same footwork, all learn the same angles, all learn the same techniques, so that they have the tools that regardless of what the defense puts in front of you, you can apply it. I'm sure the guys that are on this call that, are watching this that are from Ontario know defenses are getting creative. And I know in the States with the, the invention of the tight front, defenses are getting really creative in how they fit, especially inside zone. We need to be able to have the tools in front of us to apply it, regardless of if I'm a center or tackle or guard. It really doesn't matter. On the backside here, if it's an extra lineman, shout out, throw the extra lineman in there, give them a little extra love, right? Backside cutoff, right? Let's just try to square that Q up. Let's not let him have a free rush at the C gap. But what happens if we don't have that personnel? Or what happens if that Q is really, really good? What do? We got to give that Q a different look. Okay, so in this instance, we can cross a set. Still looking at pretty simple. This is usually one of the ads that most teams have, right? The inside slot or the inside receiver is going to cross the set. You can do usually one of two or three things with him. Usually he's going to cross the set and actually kick out on that end. He's going to cross the set and leak to the flat for a potential pass, or he's going to cross the set and leak to the flat to be a personal protector for the quarterback. Whether the quarterback's going to run or pass, he's going to be his personal protector. Either way, you're bringing a guy across that set, okay? But again, the thing to focus on is it's still the exact same for the O-line. Nothing changes. The 5 guys have the same 5 guys. It's the same techniques. Nothing changes. It's just the window dressing around them. If you're going to bring a guy across the set, one thing you have to remember is defensive response. Responses in the American game are going to be a lot different than responses in the Canadian game. Unless, you're playing true man, then the guy's just going to follow him. In the Canadian game, you usually get one of 3 things. One, we'll get Sam travel. So the Sam or the linebacker over top of that receiver will just run with him, in which case we don't care. Good for them. Doesn't affect us as the O-line up front at all. The O-line still has the exact same rules. Nothing changes. For us, if we're going to bring a guy, us as coaches, I should say, if we're going to bring a guy across, we have to understand the defensive response that we're playing that week, because we need to have our O-line prepared in case they want to do something like this. This is much more traditional. Linebackers trying to string or bump across and replace gaps. So in this case, the linebackers see that third receiver, that H coming across. The Sam becomes the A gap player. The Mike becomes the B gap player, and the Will becomes the C or D gap player, whether they're playing exchange or not on the backside. In that case, the O-line has to adjust who they're identifying in this point. If you don't feel like you have an O-line that can adjust for that, this probably isn't something you want to add, because you want to keep it simple for them at that point. If they're a Sam adjust team, feel free to use this because it won't really affect them a whole lot. But again, looking at the tailback, looking at the O-line, techniques don't really change. What we're looking at might change a little bit, but what we're trying to do, our techniques, our concept, nothing changed. Really simple add. This is a personal favorite of mine. Again, changing the look on the backside of what this defensive end is getting all the time. If we have that personnel, the tight end, we can use that to our advantage. Imagine this is a defensive line. I mean, we had a guy there, played defensive end for a while. We've had a lot of really good D linemen, but one guy in particular, Kwaku Boateng, would just ruin our practices. Like, we couldn't run the ball against him in practice. We couldn't get any better because he was that good that we couldn't get better because he'd blow it up all the time. Our tackle would be over by the center, or he'd be in the backfield at the mesh point. We just couldn't do it. So we had to get creative in practice, and just so we could run stuff. And this is one of the ways that we do it. We started influence stepping him or slip stepping him. So all we're doing here is with the tight end, all we're doing is showing him an inside zone step and then getting the hell out of there. We call it a slip step. We call this a slice tag for us, the SLI for slip and the C for cross. So this is already a skill that we have, presumably, from our receiver, our fullback, whoever's playing that inside slot. He's going to come across a set, a skill he's already got, and the tight end is going to learn a slip step. This is honestly something super easy to teach pre-practice. You get him to do it a couple times, he can probably execute it in a game. He's going to step at that end just to show him inside zone, get that defensive end to think he's got to fit it, and then get the hell out and go to the guy over top of him. Then that inside receiver is going to cross. Again, nothing changes for the O-line up front. What if this is a Kwaku Boateng type player, a guy that's going to blow it up? Well, now let's change what they have to actually do. Let's change their job. So now we got inside zone going away, but speed option at the defensive end. The only wrinkle with this, though, is I've seen it a lot more in the NCAA game lately. We actually want to show the inside zone mesh first. I didn't really know how to draw that with the tailback, so that's probably a little confusing with the tail. But essentially, we're going to try to show the inside zone mesh first. So the quarterback's actually going to open up to show inside zone with the ball presented so that quarterback can see inside zone. So whatever his rule is, we want to influence him to get into that rule as the unblocked guy and then go attack him, right? So he is always uncomfortable. He's always having to guess. He's having to slow down. You do one or two of these things throughout a game, and he can never play fast, right? Which is what we want to ultimately do with that backside guy, that unblocked man. And again, I keep harping on the front side. Nothing changes from that O-line perspective. It's still the exact same scheme, exact same concept, okay? And again, we can do the same thing. All we're doing is switching roles here, right? The aiming point of the ball changes a little bit just because of, the quarterback having to run that veer style mesh. But all we're doing is changing the roles here, right? So this quarterback is seeing a shuffle all of a sudden, which he hasn't seen at all. The O-line is still running the same thing. And now the tailback, the running back, is the edge threat, and the quarterback is the zone threat. Obviously, you have to have a quarterback that's willing to run the ball, or you're willing to run the quarterback. But again, this is just an easy change up to make that defensive end have to play in a way that he's not used to. If a team wants to play exchange against this, all of a sudden you have the the Q chasing the quarterback mesh, which means give the ball. Tailback's out in space running with a will. I think most coaches are going to want to take that, right? So this is another good change up that we can make that defensive end, that unblocked guy, have to guess over and over and over again and slow him down so that the O-line can take care of their skills. What if changing their job doesn't work, right? Then what do we do? If that defensive end is so good that we can't let him be the unblocked guy, well, let's not let him be the unblocked guy. Let's just change who the unblocked man is, right? Now you're seeing this a ton in NCAA and pro. Kansas City makes a living off this. Philadelphia won a Super Bowl running RPO. They dressed up some of the window dressing around it, but this is basically what it was, right? They'd run outside zone RPO and inside zone RPO. And Carson Wentz just killed teams in the playoffs with this. Nobody knew how to beat it. Looking at this, again, these are skills that we already know. Looking at this picture, this backside tackle is now going back on the end. That's just a showcase block. That's something we're already teaching. It's same as teaching. All we're doing is changing who the unblocked guy is. You got to change the mesh a little bit in terms of the timing, but the aiming point doesn't have to change. Quarterback's footwork has to change a little bit, but again, you spend a little bit of mesh time and you're going to be able to teach that easily, especially if you want to have this as, as part of your core run game, as part of your zone game, as part of your changeup. It's an easy one to teach early and, keep maintaining and keep perfecting as, throughout the season. All we're looking at here is if the will buries, you have a big open void where the will was, slip it right in there and you get a guy running free, right? If the will bails, you hit it downhill and they have one less guy in the box to worry about. You have a free open B gap or a free open A gap, depending on who you're reading, where you're reading, right? So that's reading the backside linebacker. You can also read the same side linebacker. So you can change the aiming point here and go with an ugly mesh so that linebacker, that will, say you have a really, really good will linebacker, you want him to be staring down the pipe of the mesh, right? So that he is frozen, right? This is a scenario where it's like maybe you get a penalty and it's 1st and 5 and you're trying to close the distance down, or you got a really overactive will. You want him to really see that mesh. This one baits him to come downhill or really forces him to have to freeze. The inside blocking, typically we like to go through the nose tackle. If you get 2 1s, it's kind of an awkward 3 for 3. I'll leave that with the O-line guys how to block that specifically, but you're essentially 3 for 3 on the inside. And then this is my personal favorite. This one's stealing. I'm sure most of you guys have run trap of some kind, but you get that nose, that super aggressive nose that just wants to get into the backfield. He doesn't want to play gap sound. He just wants to get off the ball and get in your grill. Take advantage of it. Again, change the guy who's you're leaving unblocked. Looking at these skills, we're already teaching the tight end how to do a slip step. Well, let's teach our guards how to do a slip step too. We're already teaching our tackles how to do a showcase block. We got a showcase block again. We already got inside zone on the front side. We're used to that. And we already got our H's, our receivers, learning how to come across a set and hitting inside shoulder. We already have that. We already have all the pieces we need, right? We're just using the tools that we want to use in this specific scenario. This is highlight tape for whoever this receiver is coming in, or whoever this fullback is coming in. This is highlight tape material. We made a living on this for years now. Because this guy's just thinking, okay, inside zone, inside zone, inside zone, inside zone. and all of a sudden that guard's gone and he's getting whacked in the ear, right? By last year we had like a 6'2", 260-pound fullback, so it wasn't exactly a lot of fun for those guys getting hit. We had a couple highlights with that. Then the final point I want to have is, as another change the aiming point. Backside zones becoming a lot more popular in the NCAA game. It's becoming popular in the college game in Canada a little bit. I know in the high school game in the States and here, or the club game here, it's becoming a little more popular too. For the tailbacks, we're still reading things the same way, but instead of reading the front side double, now we're just reading the backside double. In terms of what we're teaching the O-line, a little bit of teaching points, a little bit of teaching time. All we really need to teach them and have them feel is the difference between trying to square them up like an inside zone. Now we want to hit the backside shoulder in backside zone. We still want it to look the exact same, but where we're trying to aim on a person's body is just a little different. So in this instance, we want the MAC to go to the right. We want the tackle and the rush to go to the right. We want the nose to go to the right. We want the will to go to the right. And then the read's the exact same. The backside end, we already have that with the quarterback. The read's the exact same. Then the tailback just has to read that nose or that backside double. And it's all the same. So, the main takeaways from this is that we want to keep things as simple as possible for the guys up front. Teach them skills that they can replicate and get better at every single day. Because if they have the ability to rep the same things every single day, that means they can play fast and physical. And at the end of the day, that's what we want out of our O-line, right? We don't want them to have to think a whole lot. Not to say that they can't. We don't want them to have to think because we want them to play fast and physical, right? Changing up the window dressing around the concept, but keeping the concept the same up front allows them to do that, right? And it allows us as coaches to focus on specific skills and get better, really, really good at specific skills. So I'm going to stop. I'm sure I hit 15 or I'm over 15. That's my contact. It's there. If you want it, feel free to reach out anytime. I'm open to talk anytime. And there we go.
Great stuff. I'm sure Coach Wiley was excited when you showed the trap, the wham right there. He's a big fan. So let me unmute him because he's up next.
Cool.
Just one sec here. Coach Wiley, you there?
He's muted.
He's gonna unmute himself. Oh, that was great stuff. So here's a question for you. So what is the blocking teaching points if you have a receiver as your H-back blocking the nose? So what are you teaching them?
It's a good question. We try not to. You have to have a pretty ballsy receiver to be willing to go in the nose. To be honest, in Canada, I like to relate it to a hockey hit. Because he's going to be coming, stumbling, fumbling, bubbling upfield like a big guy. It's rare that he's going to be able to brace himself unless he's seen it a lot. It's rare that he's going to be able to actually catch himself. So if it's a receiver doing it, we tell him go all out. If you miss, right, we'll live with it, right? Go all out, throw your whole body into it. Don't pop your shoulder out. But if you miss, we'll live with it.
Yeah, they brought in the rules now that you can't just come in and cut them. So
yeah,
that was much easier when they just roll up on their legs.
Yeah,
my only advice on that one is same foot, same shoulder, because you don't really have to move them, to be honest, because it's like two trains passing the night, right? He's stumbling the one way and the back is that's a midline trap give, right? So even for some of my fullbacks, it's not a great matchup, right? You got a 300-pound nose, but the tighter to the line of scrimmage, the better, and same foot, same shoulder, you got a chance.
Excellent. Well, thank you very much for jumping on. I appreciate you doing that. I'll let you guys get going to your birthday party. So you guys have a great night. And so you guys have their contact info. If you also check out on 3Down Development, Zach's got a great presentation on Pass Pro. He has it broken down there. So check that out. That's a great deal.